What is the soul? This question is one of, if not the most important questions asked by man since he first possessed thought. This burning question passed on by the ancients, the Hebrews, to those great Greeks like Aristotle, Plato, and Socrates, onwards to the medieval ages, St. Augustine and St. Thomas Aquinas. This singular question of essential importance. What is the soul? Commonly understood to be classified as the rational soul, it is the defining feature that separates man from all of creation. It is the crux of our essence and gives an undeniable insight into our purpose and meaning. And yet, this question is hardly asked in the modern era. Materialism or naturalism has been popularized along with an agnostic view towards things unseen. This has come at great harm to humanity. Never before has there been such an epidemic of listless, bored, and defeated people, slaves to flesh and desire, for the nihilistic void is all that awaits. Eat, drink, and be merry, for we die tonight. Beauty has become absent from our works. The human imagination stifled into remakes, reruns, and tired cliches. We no longer truly create. We merely mass produce or distort what was already established. All of this because we no longer acknowledge the soul, also known as the animating principle of the body. It is out from the soul, the rational mind, that virtue is birthed. Things like justice, mercy, forgiveness, temperance, charity, and most importantly, love. These are the fruits of the soul. Nothing else possesses or exhibits these qualities besides man. That is why I am so intrigued and excited to have found a show that tackles the idea of the soul with some measure of proper thought and consideration. The body and its connections to the soul make up the mechanics of Jujutsu Kaisen's power system. To understand its philosophy will greatly enhance one's enjoyment of the themes of the show, and there is no better character that illuminates the threads of this theme than the special grade curse, Mahito.
虎杖裕二助けてお前は俺だ
Mahito is a central antagonist and early-stage rival of our main character in Jujutsu Kaisen. But why is that? Why choose Mahito to fill that role? My guess is because Yuji's purpose is to reflect the values of the goodness of humanity, to show its soul, in a world that is disposed of such notions, kind of like our own. The Jujutsu Kaisen world is fundamentally cruel. Every human leaks out something called cursed energy, which is fueled by negative emotions. Things like hate, bitterness, loneliness, anxiety, etc. These are also aspects of the soul. When enough of this is leaked, cursed energy compounds and creates a cursed spirit. This cursed spirit will represent some archetype or manifestation of a particular negative emotion. Example, Jugo is a representative of the primordial fear of fire and disaster in humanity's hearts. These cursed spirits are not too different from the humans of which they spawn. They also have a rational soul and a mortal body. They have desires and urges. The only difference is cursed spirits lack any positive emotion, for it's literally poison to them. Essentially, they are negativity manifested. The only way to fight said hostile spirits is to channel one's own cursed energy, one's own negative emotions into explosive force. What does this mean? It means the JJK world is always under threat because humans give birth to monsters, and the only way to fight said monsters is to drown yourself in sorrows. Negativity, suffering, is what makes you stronger. As you can see, based on such a world, finding someone like Itadori Yuji is rare. Someone with a strong sense of right and wrong, of justice, compassion, mercy, empathy, of self-denial, self-sacrifice, of the goodness of the soul. This is why Mahito is the perfect foil. Mahito is the cursed spirit which represents the worst of humanity in particular. Hatred of fellow man, envy, spite, maliciousness, arbitrary cruelty. He is a mirror of the humans in Jujutsu Kaisen. He acts purely on impulse and for the sole sake of his own desires. There is an exchange between Yuji and Mahito where Yuji asks, why does Mahito toy with so many lives? And Mahito simply says, I am you. Now, some people may look at the cruelty and the arbitrariness of Mahito and think, no, that's not humanity, that's not me. But when I thought about it, I thought he was right. It's a stupid story, but one day I was disc golfing in a forest when I saw a spider. Without really thinking, I just jumped up and squished it. My mom, who was nearby, simply asked me with a quizzical expression, why did you do that? There was no reason to. And after a moment's pause, all I could muster up in response was, I don't know. That same callous, meaningless, destructive, corrupted nature found in man is exemplified in Mahito towards humans. Why does he murder and torture? It's just his nature, same as man's. We also arbitrarily destroy without real reason sometimes. And this is why his worldview shattering words to Yuji at his deepest, darkest moment strike so hard. I am you. Indeed, Mahito is us. Mahito literally translates to true human. We the viewers ought to reflect on this narratival point. How can we condemn this despicable worm if we act the same way sometimes? Morality is real. Justice is real. Truth is real. When we discard such axioms, we become irrational. We become beasts moved by desires alone. We become nothing but a curse. Now, how one gives justification for believing in such axioms is a conversation for another time. The point the author of Jujutsu Kaisen makes remains the same. But that is just one side of what makes Mahito so interesting. The other half is truly intriguing. Mahito's curse technique, in my opinion, is of a divine nature. Idol transfiguration. Transfiguration meaning a complete change of form or appearance into a more beautiful or spiritual state. This word is most famously used to describe Jesus' appearance when he showed some of his disciples his glorified heavenly form, fulfilling prophecy and proving himself as the Son of God. Described by some theologians as the greatest miracle performed by Jesus. So yeah, it sounds like a big deal. Another way you could put his technique is pointless miraculous transformation. It is a technique that allows him to touch the very soul of another and shape it to however he wants to make it, which causes the body of that soul to change as well. This seems to have no restrictions. He has turned humans into monsters, little pebbles, swords, anything he wants. He often changes his own soul to make his body suit whatever he needs for the occasion. But how does that work on a philosophical level? Mahito's first theory is that the soul comes before the body. The soul metabolizes emotions through the body, but is not bound to it. Therefore, the body, though natural, is not essential to a person. Basically, the soul can be separated from the body. This view is most similar to something called dualism, and has been held in some form by Plato and Descartes. However, even though it's Mahito's technique, he ironically was wrong, and it's something he would learn later on. In Jujutsu Kaisen, the soul functions under a form of hylomorphism. Hylomorphism means that the Aristotelian form of an organism is its soul, and the body is the matter. An example, bricks which put together make a house. The bricks are the matter, the house is the form. The body is the matter, the soul is the form. So how Mahito's technique works is he changes the form of a person into something else. By doing so, the matter, or body of said person, will reconstruct itself to match its new form. Basically, it's like he's changing the source code of a person. Unlike dualism, the hylomorphic soul is not a substance separated from the body. Rather, it is the substantial form that animates an organic body and makes that living body what it is. This means the body and soul are intimately connected, at least, or inseparable at most, depending on the philosopher. This view has been held in some matter by Aristotle and St. Thomas Aquinas. I believe knowing the different philosophical influences matters because the author of JJK has heavily incorporated other philosophies like that of Nietzschean philosophy, such as the Übermensch through Sukuna, something I talk about in another video. This is critical in understanding the power system of Jujutsu Kaisen, like how domain expansions are an expression of one's soul being manifested beyond the body, how they are unlocked through self-understanding. It explains how curse techniques can be passed down genetically because the body and soul are one. This understanding also plays into several plot points, like how can Sukuna inhabit other people, Toji's temporary takeover of another body, Geto's brief rejection of Kenjaku, and more. All the nuances of this are quite extensive, but that would take a whole nother video. For now, I want to stay focused on Mahito. Mahito's story is all about understanding the nature of the connection between body and soul, for that is the story of humanity itself, of which he is a mirror. A journey of self-discovery, which inherently causes a journey of self-purpose and growth for Yuji. Mahito telling Yuji to wish him a happy birthday, and saying, "Killing you will show me the true shape of my soul," is not just clever wording, but the truth for Mahito. Completing his goal is what he desires and completes his metamorphosis, his journey of self-understanding, of finding the proper form and matter for himself. Feeling the core of cursed energy through Black Flash allowed him even deeper insight into himself and what he strives to be. Getting that clear image of his soul, or form, is what became most important to him, and what is most important for humanity. While the journey for most sorcerers is one of trying to understand their soul and use it to its maximum potential, the path was opposite for Mahito. In my opinion, which this is very subjective, he actually understood his soul quite easily and quickly, hence his unlocking of domain expansion. He knew exactly what he was meant to be as a curse. What he was truly striving for was to discover what his true body was. The fight between Yuji and Mahito is one for the soul of humanity, at least in a poetic sense. Why do we do what we do? What makes humans human? As Jugo said, death is a mirror for humans. Mahito is that mirror. He is what we all ignore when we look in the mirror. He embodies what society tells us not to be: overzealous, prideful, egotistical, and self-serving. He is the negative aspect of the soul. And in the end, he kind of won the ideological battle. He brought Yuji down to his level. Yuji even confesses that he is indeed just like Mahito. that he doesn't need a reason to kill. He's just a cog, or in other words, an animal with no higher rationale. He has given up his will. Mahito may have lost the bodily fight, the contest of matter, but he killed Yuji's soul. He made a human believe he was indistinguishable from a curse, and that is truly terrifying. But tell me what you think. How do you feel about JJK's portrayal of the soul and body? What are your thoughts on Mahito? I'd love to discuss down in the comments below. Thanks for watching.